Hello everybody, I'm Phil Liggett and welcome to Beyond the Podium. It's kind of a special one this time because we're hot off the microphone with our coverage on Peacock of the fourth running of the Tour de Femmes avec Swift, and we've just seen the first French winner of the event cross the line. And that, of course, is Pauline Ferrand-Prevo, who's seen a great race today. So who better than to welcome on my co-commentator on the race than Megan Guarnier herself. Hello, it's the first time I've actually seen you, Megan.
I know. Yeah. What a pleasure to finally see you after talking for 8 hours over the past few days.
Exactly. We should explain to our listeners, of course, that you are in the USA. I'm in London at the Sky Studios here. And of course, the race is in France. Sometimes there's a delay that causes a few problems. But what we have seen is an incredible winner this year. And she's such a good storyline, isn't she?
She's such a great storyline. You're exactly right. You could see the focus on her face throughout the whole race. And she had a lot of weight on her shoulders. She put it out there last year. I'm coming back to the road because I want to win the Tour de France Femmes. I've seen this race, and it was too alluring for her to stay away from road cycling. And that's a big thing to put out there to people, to the public. And then for all eyes on you when you come into the race to be able to deliver. What an incredible athlete, how strong mentally and physically she was day in and day out. That was an impressive ride we saw today.
Well, she said today, of course, and I think, of course, that's what we all would expect her to say, it was a dream come true, a childhood dream to win the Women's Tour de France. But it's not been going that long. This is the new version, of course. The previous was in the 80s when they ran 6 events, and actually longer distances than the current ones. But that was the end of it, and it's restarted again now. But she was, this time last year, was celebrating the Olympic Games mountain bike gold medal. And then she'd done everything else. She's been the World Cyclocross Champion. Before she started her second life as a mountain biker, she was a World Road Race Champion. And she gave herself, as you say, 3 years to now win the Tour de France. And she's done it in about 6 months of trying to do it. She's achieved everything now.
Yeah. Again, she won the yellow jersey on her debut in the Tour de France Femmes. And what's incredible is the Tour de France Femmes wasn't even running when she was alive. Before she was born, it had ended. So she said, this is what little girls' dreams are made of. And to be able to dream about something that really wasn't even in front of her, wasn't even an option, that speaks to how much women's cycling has grown. And yeah, she has a dream and she made it come true. And as you said, just a year ago, she was on the mountain bike chasing another dream of winning gold in Paris. So she has a penchant for being the top level athlete on her home soil. She really rises to the occasion.
I was actually with her in Paris, just in the back room, and she won that gold medal, and she was telling everybody then that locally, not for publication, that she probably will go back to the road. And she's done it, and she's been successful. But nobody's going to say she's a lucky winner, because she beat all the top cyclists in the world. Demi Vollering, of course, and Katia Niewiadoma. They've been the top two girls, basically, since the new Tour series began in 2022. They've had 2 wins, 1 each. They've had 2 seconds, not 1 each. One's had 2 seconds and one's had 2 thirds. They've dominated. And they must have been shocked the way she finished them all off over this last weekend, because she simply blew them out the pool.
She did, and they were the overwhelming, Vollering and Niewiadoma were the overwhelming favorites coming into the race. And everybody kept talking about their rivalry. And while the whole time Pauline, we knew she was coming back. We knew she had won Paris Roubaix. We knew she had good form, but was it the form of Vollering and Niewiadoma? And the question about how could she handle a 9-day stage race after her career in mountain biking and the classics, the single days, she was clearly very strong, but to do that over 9 days is a totally different can of worms. So yeah, to everyone's surprise, Pauline was just on a different level, and both Vollering and Niewiadoma were like, look, she was just better. And Niewiadoma said Pauline right now is raising the game for all of us road athletes, because clearly there's something she's doing and we need to be doing that as well.
So she gets the yellow, and then she goes and comes to the finishing line, and she crosses that line in the yellow jersey. That was a dream. She said before the start to her closer friends, I want to win in yellow. And she did it. That is an incredible achievement, because today I feel her two adversaries felt we've got to try and do something about this. And they came out fighting today. They never attacked to win the race. That was gone, I think. But they did want to win the stage, and she beat them at that too.
Yeah, there's definitely they're winning a stage at the Tour de France is always a goal of every rider. And Pauline could have easily said today, you know what, I'm going to defend this jersey. I'm going to make sure I'm safe. I'm not going to stick my neck out. She could have easily just followed right into the finish. And instead, when the group was whittled down, when the other GC contenders started attacking each other, she saw her opportunity and she went. And it could have been a suicide move. She could have failed at that, and then people might have said, "Oh well, maybe she's not the rider." But you know what? She went out there and she did it, and that took a huge commitment and belief in herself.
Now, let's talk about the people who have performed well, become new names, certainly to me, and like Skibon, who got two stage wins. I think she's 21 and a half years of age. And I think she came from Brest, where this race started, and then raced right across France in a strange direction for a tour. Just went straight across the countryside to the east side from the west side. A very, very tough route indeed. But what about the French in this race, with Skibon matching everything, not quite everything, that Pauline did?
Yeah, Squeezan had a real amazing, an incredible race as well. Last year she was actually second in a stage, but she kind of still flew under the radar. I think people were a little bit chalking that up to, oh, she was lucky to follow that move and be in that break and get up the road on this mountain climb. But UAE ADQ saw the talent that she had, and they signed her, and they signed her in support of Elisa Longo Borghini, who was their who just won the Giro earlier in July, and they brought Squeezan in as a support rider to Elisa Longo Borghini, and knows that seeing the talent and what they could develop in her. She had a tougher first few days because being in the peloton really isn't her favorite thing to do. So what does she do? She just goes up the road. She's done with the peloton. She's just gonna
Megan,
send it
do
off.
you think, in fairness, would she have been the same rider if Elisa Longo had finished the tour? She went out pretty early on. I think she had a stomach problem or something. Would she have been allowed ahead to have produced and changed totally her reputation in the sport this week?
We would have never seen that. I think I can confidently say we would have never seen Squeezan take those two victories had Elisa Longo Borghini still been in the peloton. She would have Squeezan's target would have been late in those later stages where she would have been needed to protect Elisa into the climbs, into the Col de la Madeleine yesterday. So I don't think she would have been given the leeway to head up the road and go for solo wins, because at that point, once Elisa Longo Borghini had to pull out of the race going into state, she completed two stages and then had the GI issues. So if she hadn't pulled out of the race,
she wouldn't have been given a chance.
Right. And when she was gone, they needed to salvage something. UAE ADQ needed to salvage something, so they went on the attack. An attack they did.
And the team was a little bit decimated too towards the end. But let's just talk about one of my favourite riders in the race, because of the way she rides with the attitude. She knows her ability, and she rides to that ability. And she is the fastest woman in the world on a bike, Lorena Wiebes. She's Dutch. She's like all Dutch women, strong. And when she sprints to win the sprint. A bit like Jonathan Milan in the men's event the other week. But she faces many lonely hours in the race once she finishes her sprint session and has to beat the time limit. She was 25 minutes down when she crossed the line today at the end of the tour. Right. Every day, that's what she does.
Yeah, Lorena is in a league of her own in sprinting. When Pretty much all year, maybe even last year, if it was a sprint day, Wiebes was the favorite. There was really no question about who was going to win a sprint. But Wiebes has also honed her climbing. So even on slightly uphill finishes or really tough days, if Wiebes is still there, there's pretty good odds Wiebes is going to win that bike race. What I really love about Wiebes as well is that she's just an incredible teammate. If the day's not for her, she will lay it all on the line. We saw that today where she was attacking from the gun. She was trying to set up Anna van der Breggen clearly to tire everybody out, to put a little sting in the leg so Anna could get up the road. She knows what she's doing. She's a fantastic bike racer, and I really like her attitude. She's super cool and quiet and humble, but she is a killer when she gets a sniff of that finish line.
She is, and she's fast and she's quick. Now, today during this week, we saw a comeback to the top level. She's only 24 years of age now, but I'm talking about Gigante. I've known her since she was 18. I used to watch her race small circuit races in Australia, particularly in Melbourne, where she comes from. And they were building her up so big. She was going to be the next greatest thing ever. And she's had setbacks with illness. She almost died with COVID 4 years ago. And the doctors weren't worried about her future as a cyclist. They were simply worried about her life. And that was very serious. Then, of course, she's come back. And she started today in second place. It looked like the wheel had turned the full circle to fitness. But she just can't go down hills, can she?
She can't right now. And that's the thing. She is only 24 years old. She has a long career ahead of her. She's clearly very strong in the head to be able to come back from what she's come back from her surgery, from broken arms. And part of being a real champion is knowing your weaknesses and being able to work on them. And she is working on them. She's infinitely better at descending than she was last year. We would have never seen her in these positions last year, but she's worked on her descending. She came and she reconned all of the descents of this tour, which had helped her in the early stages. But today she was left a little bit on her own, just by virtue of the parkour. She was on her own. She didn't have her teammates to assist her in the moments. She was dropped on the descent, and people, you can give her a hard time for that, but then people are dropped on the climb. So everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. And Sarah Gigante had an incredibly strong ride today. She didn't give up. She came across the line solo, minutes down, but she also wasn't caught by the people behind her.
Yeah, I think she's a superb rider. She's got a big heart, and she'll be back. She's continued what is a best season, really, with her 2 wins in the Giro. But let's talk about what was certainly a new name to me, because as you know, I don't get to call a lot of women cycling these days. But
me neither.
You're an expert. Don't give me that. You've won the Giro d'Italia. What do you know about? Well, she is Dutch. I love saying her name, but sometimes I feel as though I'm telling a joke when I talk about Nienke Winke.
Nienke Winke. Yeah, she's a young, it's a fun name to say. She's a young rider that Team Picnic Post NL have brought on. She's been on with that squad 2 or 3 years. They've really given her a lot of space to develop. There's not a ton of pressure on her. And I think that's really important when you're bringing new riders into the sport, and not to put so much pressure on a young rider to perform day in and day out. This is the top level of the sport. When you come from juniors to professional women's racing, that's a huge jump. So it takes learning, it takes development physically and mentally. And I think Team Picnic Post NL is doing the right thing in supporting her in her growth.
One thing I want to tell you now, you're a very, I don't know how to describe you, Megan, but you don't like to brag, put it that way. And in fact, you keep your light under a bushel, that's for sure. But you were a jolly good rider in your day. When did you try? 2019, was it your last season?
2018 was my last season racing in Europe.
2018 your last season, okay. On the way, you won stages of the Giro d'Italia. You wore the pink jersey. And did you win the Giro as well?
I did. I got to wear the pink jersey.
Listen to it. Tell the world what you did. because that's an incredible performance. But the thing is, you never had the chance to ride a Tour de France Femina. That must be a big regret, you know.
Yeah, you know, when I was racing, the only 9-day long stage race we had was the Giro Donne. So at that time it was called the Giro Donne. So the Giro
Girodon,
d'Italia.
that's right. Yeah,
This
yeah.
this was the big race. So this was my equivalent of the Tour de France Femme. And yeah, when I first started, this was really just a dream to be able to win the Giro d'Italia. And it was nothing like what we're seeing at the Tour de France Femme. The crowd, there were not crowds like this. So
Mm.
there's a piece of me that said, oh, I literally said this to a friend the other day. Oh, if I was only 20 years or 10 years younger and I was in women's cycling, just the difference. I'm so excited for all these women who get the opportunity to display their talents, display the sport of cycling, because it is a incredibly beautiful sport. As we talked about today, it can change in a second, but the teamwork, all the things behind the scene, and being able to see the whole stage today. We got to see it from kilometer zero. So we got to see all the team tactics play out. And this is something when I was racing, you didn't really get to see. You got to read it on a live feed somewhere, maybe if there was good service. But what an incredible moment to be a woman cyclist. There's so many opportunities.
Yeah, that's for sure. Mm.
And to be at the front end of the Tour de France Femme, yeah, unbelievable.
Now, you wore the pink jersey, right?
I wore it in 2015, and then I lost it to the one and only Anna van der Breggen, who was featured today.
Where'd you keep it?
I don't know.
What?
It's probably shoved in a box somewhere.
Oh, I was going to ask you to go and fetch it out and show it to us, because I'd like to see. Amalia Rosa.
I did win the overall in 2016. So yeah, where's that? I do have a picture of me popping a bottle of champagne down in the basement. That's
in the basement. You should have popped it off the top of the house, saying, "Yay, I won the Giro."
Didn't you started this conversation with you don't like to really talk about your past achievements? So yeah.
Now, you've done it. You've commentated on it. Have you any ideas now about how you can progress? Not particularly women's cycling, but let's say the Tour Femina. What would you do?
How would I like to see it go?
Yeah.
There was a comment. This has been a discussion, right? Should they grow the Tour de France Femme longer? And what I really like about a 9-day stage race and not making it a 21-day stage race is that every day there was action. Every day there were big storylines. Every day we saw a breakout ride or something dramatic happen. Whereas when you draw it out to 21 days, you get more of a pattern, and people aren't as glued to it. Right. This is my opinion. As you would a 9-day stage race where there's some kind of general classification action. There's always some shakeup. There's some winner, unexpected winner, and you keep that excitement level over 9 days. Is there the potential to grow it? For sure, but I think if you're going to look at growing the Tour de France Femme for the women, there need to be some structural changes for women's cycling, where there need to be larger squads, because right now I think the average women's squad is between 14 and 18 riders, something within there.
It's a lot.
It's not enough to field a team for 21 at a 21-day Grand Tour.
That is absolutely right. Yeah, because by comparison, the men, they have a stable of 28 to 29 riders. So one or two have 30 riders. So they've got room for injury and a change of mental attitude to boost their team as they go along over the season. In fact, you're quite right.
Right, yeah, and you're seeing this in the like for Elisa Longo Borghini, she got sick. Marlene Rosser at the beginning of this race. These were pre-race favorites, but they had over 30 days of racing coming into the Tour de France Femme. I looked it up, and if my stats correct, Tadej Pogačar only had 37 race days at the finish of the Tour de France. So after 21 days of racing. So these women are coming in with so many days of racing in their legs, and you're already on the razor's edge of fitness and health. And I think it's too big of an ask to throw a 21-day race in the mix at this point. There needs to be a little, larger teams, as we just said.
Are you knowing something I don't? Are they thinking of doing it for 21 days?
No, but it's all about, there's been the talk of lengthening the race, and with lengthening the race, I'm jumping ahead of myself, maybe.
So this was a 9-day, and this was a continual building. Frankly, I think it's enough, but I don't want you to have my opinion. Do you think this is where it should stop building for the moment, or should it go on, or shorter?
I don't want to put a hard stop on anything. I think the growth in women's cycling has in the past 6-7 years has just been incredible, and in its small changes, bigger team budget, more exposure. This Tour de France Femmes was the biggest yet, and I think I heard this like double the viewers from last year or something like this. So when it's growing like that, the budgets will be bigger, allowing the riders them to have larger teams, and then we can start talking about adding more and more and more races. But it's all interplaying. The Tour de France Femme, there were question marks around it when it began. The race, the ASO said it needs to not lose money. It needs to break even or make money.
Well, the ASO would only ever do it if it didn't lose money.
Exactly.
They're pretty careful. Should we say they're careful? But they do have a lot of expenses. My goodness me, they do.
Yeah, and that makes total sense.
It does. Okay, the other thing is the placement in the calendar. This is becoming an increasing problem for all of cycling at the moment, because the women have a full calendar now. They have their own 3 Grand Tours as well. So I think the increase of the riders' stable will come automatically. Otherwise, they won't have the riders to start riding all the events under this sort of pressure now to win. But the placement it overlaps with the Tour de France, which means all the people going to Paris suddenly, I know it was horrendous for some of the TV commentators. They had to first of all commentate the women's tour and then the men's tour on Saturday and on Sunday. And then after it was over on Sunday in Paris, they had to drive across France to catch up in Brittany and Normandy to then be on site with the women's race. They were blown out. They'd done 3 weeks on the Tour de France and now doing 10 days. So it's a kind of pressure. And I don't quite know what they can do about the placement of the women's event.
Yeah, I do think the women's event is a great standalone event. It does make sense to overlap it a little bit with the men's race, because everybody's there in France already, and the momentum's there. One thing I will say, kind of to the point of the calendar, is that there was big news this year that the women's Giro d'Italia, which took place from July 6th to the 13th this year, which is only 13 days before the beginning of the Tour de France Femmes, is now being moved to the end of the men's Giro d'Italia, which I think is just wonderful. So that'll take place in May. So they're breaking that up. So then we won't have the discussions of Reusser and Elisa Longo Borghini, who just had an incredible Giro. They'll be able to rock up to the start line at the Tour de France Femmes at their fullest potential, and then there'll just be more GC battles, which I would love to see.
I would too. Now, Megan, before we say goodbye for what may be another year, maybe less, I hope so, tell me what your final thoughts. Is there anything you want to talk about that maybe has been wrinkling you, or just say something that you might be thinking about? You spent and watched the whole race. By the way, before we came on to do the podcast, you were panicking because you had no notes. Now you've got your notes. I haven't seen you look at them once. What's going on?
So I have my whole binder over there that I flipped through, and I have all my stage notes over there. But the thing I grabbed was my little my little sheet. I took this. This is a cheat sheet
That's
of
your
all the
notes?
stage. No, not all my notes. This is my stages, stage 1, 2, 3 of all the riders,
Okay.
just to quickly glance at should I need it. But anything that I really want to talk about, I just think we should. I'm really just so happy for Pauline Ferrand-Prevo, and
Me too.
A small little. She was my teammate in 2013. She's this quiet, determined.
There's something else you never told me. You were a teammate.
See, I'm not. I feel like it's name dropping.
No, it's not. It's proving you're up for the job. You got all the credentials.
She's really sweet. She always has your back as a teammate.
Yeah.
She's always supportive, but she's ferocious. I mean, like you saw in that climb, she just, when it's game time, it's like a flip has been switched. And I saw that a little bit in her this whole race, where she just had this determination. And
yeah,
this Melissa bike played it so well. They kept her as under the radar as they could for as long as they could before the media pressure and all of that was on her, because it was rightfully so. But to shield her a little bit from the energy expenditure of handling the media really set her up for success into these final days. And for a rider like Pauline, yeah, it's great to be in the spotlight, but that's also draining. And yeah,
sure.
Another little quote today, just to show the kind of rider that Pauline is when she was sitting behind the microphone. I can't move anymore. Like, that tank is empty. I think she can go sit on the couch for the next week and binge watch something.
Yeah.
No, I'm just so thrilled for her. She's just a very kind-hearted person, and I'm always really happy to see somebody who works so hard to have success.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the answer. She's a dedicated athlete, and she's also nice to be with. And so are you, Megan. So thank you for working with us this weekend, and I've enjoyed it immensely, I'll be honest. And we've had a great race to report. So until the next time, as they say, be here the next time. Take care.
Thank you, Phil.
For all your cycling content year-round, subscribe to NBC Sports YouTube page. We got it all.